All right, so let's explain what's going on today. So, usually, I don't always get on anymore to just talk about my business, but I can do it now. So, going through this time where it is that nobody really gives a shit, and knowing that we can have some people stop in that we haven't been regular, being out for 2 months. We have an album that's already done, practically. We're supposed to be finishing up 2 songs. I'm starting a new job in the next couple of days. I'm literally going to get stuck pulled away from nights again. We haven't been streaming because I decided to go and hang out with people inside of the local music community for people that spend their time playing instruments rather than making albums, that spend their time playing instruments, being inside of a band, playing through those tracks before it is they ever get a chance at being able to record something and playing local shows. If, in fact, they even did that, because they spend their money mostly on equipment trying to hang out with friends and organize with people playing their instruments. So, over here, we're a music producer, and honestly, going through gender dysphoria and going through this shit and having a gender identity crisis was not something that I expected after all of my years. But it's basically time to describe that there's going to be a big change when it comes to my personality. I'm not always doing a femme voice. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to spend. I'm still going through voice training, but I'd rather not take HRT and go through cloudy headedness because I still need to be able to knock somebody the fuck out here during beatdown. I'm still inside of venues as a bystander, getting in between two guys that are about to duke it out because apparently one dude's hit a woman, and I'm not trying to end up in federal prison by knocking somebody the fuck out, or end up going toe to toe with somebody who's 2 times, 3 times my size, even though I can lift them. I don't want to end up getting into such serious shit that I have to deal with people that are constantly fighting with me, arguing with me, and getting upset and trying to do bullshit to me because they're upset that I'm talking shit, and I'm stuck watching people doing stupid, crazy shit all the time when I just want to go hang out with my friends and have people to spend time with and laugh with and appreciate life with, but it's stressful trying to get all of that together. I would expect somebody who kind of opened my eyes to this and really spent my time inside of the trans community really talking with me about things. And, it really hurts to have them not talk to me. And, I deep down want to hold off on mentioning anything because I'll reiterate all this stuff in a bit. I'll go live in a sec, and we'll explain a lot of what's going on, part of that stuff, and we'll leave out names. And we're about to finish this album, and I'll explain that. Okay. So we're gonna go live real quick. We're already live here on YouTube. We're gonna go live over here. I just gotta capture. Okay. All right. I don't think anyone's showing up anymore. It's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad how that works. Alright. Since I don't think anyone's showing up, chat, since we've been so inactive for a while, that's the alarm for 9 p.m. We're gonna explain the real serious part about this. If we take a look at this in the brand and everything that I've done with the trademarks that we have, everything, this means jack shit to people. I already knew that it meant jack shit. It didn't matter to me. Like, it was something important for me. That way I could say that I had something, and anybody that wanted to be too fucking serious, I could at least just flaunt it in front of their face and being like, oh, serious, cool. Because I really don't give a shit. But if we take this time where it is that we take a look out of the last decade that I've spent doing streaming on Twitch, working my ass off building a brand, trying to figure out what I was going to do to be a Twitch streamer, what I was going to do to be a YouTuber, what I was going to learn the video editing, to do the graphic design, to do the music productions, that we had to beat the copyrights, that we had to go and learn how to make music, that we were going to be an artist as well, what genres we were going to do, everything that I was interested in. We're at this breaking point where we hit the decade mark in about a year, where the journey started. The journey really started at around 19. The journey is coming close to an end in about a year. And here's why. We have these trademarks that we can have that are going to last another decade. I have enough business and stuff like that to focus on, but it's come to a point in my life where I'm pushing to be 29. I eventually didn't want people to get to know me and know the face of this brand, and I admit that to a lot of people. I had enough plans, fundamentally, to keep my identity a secret, to milk a face reveal, just because I was very, ashamed of who it is that I was and how I looked. And, I just didn't want to do the normal local stream thing, to be a face streamer, having to constantly do weird video edits, showing my camera while it is that I tried to do YouTube. I enjoyed the idea of a lot more comprised content with some of the video editing that we've done, that I've done with my friends, and some of the people that I've associated with over the years. We've lost a lot of people, and apparently it's fun because, I'm still glad that I got Friday in my life. He's a sick-ass motherfucker. But, coming around these last couple of months, I haven't actually been wanting to live. I want to let it all go. And they say that it's the depression. They say it's this, they say it's that, but here's what happened. I hadn't accepted a lot of emotional range inside of my life that I hadn't felt in years, that died off a long time ago. I actually hadn't felt like I was in love with somebody, and I had a fiance. I had a child at some point, for a couple of weeks while that was still in the womb. And I don't want to get into that, but I didn't even really feel love. I didn't really feel anything for years. I walled it off. I didn't accept it. I just kept laughing with my friends and trying to have a good time, because deep down, life was good. I had the confidence to say at the end of the day that somebody loved me and somebody cared about me, and that I had people that cared about me, which was nice. Which they still do. But there comes to this point in life to where you do all of this stuff for work, and then you kind of look around and you realize, like, what do I really love in life? What really makes me happy? Because a lot of it didn't always make me happy. Most of this was just kind of me and trying to enjoy myself, laugh it up with everybody, but I had a lot of breakdowns in the background to where I just didn't want to deal with shit. Because I didn't want to have to go through all of this work, because I wasn't happy in life and I was always frustrated trying to deal with people. I mentioned that I've been doing this for a while. I just recently had a talk with Tyler Tate, um, from Hollow Front while he was at his merch booth, and he was telling me how he did everything DIY and how they separated from their label here, and they've lost several members of the band, and they lost their management team, and they got through this tour that they did with the Browning and Upon a Burning Body when they showed up here in town, and they got through their booking, and one of the managers from Upon a Burning Body came to talk with them, and they just really had a talk and say, hey, do you want to be on this tour? And they said, yeah, absolutely, because it's just Tyler Tate and his guitarist that do most of the work on their laptop, and they're all doing self-produced albums where they've only gone through a couple of producers, and they never really got the support from a record label where they maybe got 22% of anything they worked out. But he explained to me that despite all of this, he's proving all of the people wrong, that basically out of all the tragedy that's gone through, to keep pushing inside of music. And when he goes away from actually working and going on this tour and living up this dream for this life experience that he would never let go of, he goes to take care of his kids, and he goes and works a normal factory job. He's not just some asshole who made it big that manages to live off of whatever it is that they do. And congratulations to anyone who does, that they do make money out of music and they want to live to what means that they want to live to in life, but not somebody who gloats about it and says that it's absolutely like the most amazing and best thing ever to use whatever they have to constantly spread their idealism and start to make people feel like shit. Because there does come in at a price for a lot of this, a lot of alienation. Because he did talk with me, Tyler Tate did talk with me about how when people come and talk to you that they really do just want something. And then I had to rethink about that as a second too. Because I'm wanting to get to know him, I wanted to learn from his experience and have him talk to me and tell me about his life and who he was. Everyone that I was surrounded by and everyone that I've been surrounded by and having arguments with for the past couple of months is directly associating with somebody who basically uses me and everyone as a means to get something that they want. That while it is that I looked at this person and said, hey, he would go and approach people and have a conversation with them and learn from them, right? And listen and really have those experiences and know how to ask the right questions. But this person that I'm learning this from, that I had actually spent around for the past couple of months, was using it to get things and offer people services because he's always just trying to get his foot into the industry and have money, as it is that he basically scrounges and lives off the streets. So while it is that I had to take a bigger look at the compassion and empathy that I've had for people and getting people close with me inside of the trans community and talking with my LGBTQ plus friends, that I had this big hard time trying to be able to live inside of my own self-identity, preserving idealism that wasn't respectful to people that I had around me at the time, because at the same time, while it is that I was a part of my own community and my own involvement with the community and support for my friends, I was always finding out how people had very mixed and different opinions on how it is people looked inside of people inside of the LGBTQ plus community. That it's not really that everyone is prideful of who they are, but that everybody else has opinions about each other, which is very, very fucked up. So I spent my time showing a lot of compassion and care for somebody who didn't ask for it, that did show compassion and care for me and would pick up the phone in the middle of the night and ask me as if everything's okay, and I just laugh it off. Because in the end, I'm literally just telling everybody how amazing things are going to be. Like, oh yeah, this year's going to be great, you know, stuff's going to be good, like can't wait to see you, but I'm doing things for people. I'm literally at the means of an end, sacrificing my all, having spent 2 years not having released anything, not really knowing what it is that I want to do with my life and what direction that I want to go with this person that's also trying to use people for their own interests and convince all these people what it is that they need to do and what it is that they want to try and redirect people with goals. That people that I have that are vulnerable, that are cloudy-headed, you know, that have ADHD or that can't really focus on anything and are constantly saying that they want to live up to the dreams that we all said when we were 20, that I want to make money off of music and I don't want to work. Well, the sad truth is we all said that and we end up having to. And some people get the luxury in life to where they don't actually have to do that, but it takes hard, dedicated work, or some people just get lucky and it comes easy to them. And some people are just industry plants. Like, it varies. But knowing where it is that I saw somebody that I knew was way younger than me, that I basically looked at, I couldn't as a grown-ass man, having been a father, having been almost somebody's husband, dealing with somebody who constantly acts like a child that's still 34, 35, as a grown man, being told that I'm not a man, to really think about that question inside of my life when dealing with somebody inside the trans community in their 20s. So I can't really think too much on how much my life seems pretty fucking miserable right now, because while it is that I can't talk with them and I don't know what it is that they want and I don't understand, they're still around, they still take my text messages, they still complain about me to other people. Compared to all the other people that could leave me in life, I'm used as a suit or a play of cards or just an individual to talk shit about constantly. Well, they don't even know, or I don't even know if they care, or I don't even know if they even support other people inside of the community that want to transition as I go through this transition. So I'm getting into this thing where I'm talking about what Jargus is basically being defined as now. Jargus used to be this idea of, when I came into the industry, we're going to make very heavy dubstep, very brutal music that was going to be hyper masculine, that was going to use the body positivity and the imagery of people supporting themselves throughout the SWER community to actually, you know, promote body positivity and promote hypersexualization of identity all throughout, and basically focus on LGBTQ elements that were only usually accepted and really, you know, promoted by cisgender males. That way it is that could be a brand and use basically an Andrew Tate style sort of thinking, rather than just saying being a man, but that also celebrating that people actually want to be surrounded inside of a good vibe and a good environment and want to be violent and fuck people up because it's heavy dubstep and it's like heavy metal. Not some stuff to where when I looked at people like Sullivan King, like, I found myself as a raging asshole who, while it is that I wanted to show support for somebody who found love inside of their life and some compassion, I looked at it as a sense of weakness, saying that, okay, well, Sully's not going to be a party animal anymore, and he's going to focus on taking care of his child with the wife that he cares about and the relationship that he has with that security, rather than just basically being a pit king that makes sure that everyone's a rager and everyone's bleeding out at the end of the show like a hardcore show. Because dubstep and EDM festivals have this tendency where everyone is keeping their space and standing a decent distance from themselves. It's not like a Slayer concert, and I basically wanted the entire embodiment of how I grew up and was raised inside of the metal community. And knowing that everybody wanted a headbang to reintroduce all of those things back inside of the EDM community, where people wanted space, respect, good vibes, and healing and shit like that, to basically rain destruction inside of this weird grunge underground community that turned into a mass when we really think about, you know, really playing shows and looking at that as a brand. But it doesn't help me to know that while it is that I'm looking at the new metal bands, I'm looking at all the crowds, I'm looking at the spaces, I'm looking at the people, everyone's gotten older, everyone's that's young is getting into a place where people aren't really that close to each other, that people really don't want to rage and do shit, and if they do, it gets a little odd for the way that the communities are, and I feel like everyone's on a lot more edge nowadays, that people are prone to fighting more often. As a matter of fact, I still have to deal with people that get upset with me and start to try and start fights with me while it is that I'm going and having a good time in a pit. And that's for people that say that they don't want to be pushed and shoved when they don't know the etiquette and they just say they want to go watch a concert. So it's a big throwback inside of communities and festivals nowadays. For me to have this, to be able to come from a different community being able to have the kind of violence that it is that I'm looking for, that I'm actually, very familiar with, that's proper etiquette inside of a situation where you get to just push and shove people in a pit or just throw down, depending upon your local shows and what kind of communities that you're in. But it does come complicated, because now here's where the brand change goes, where I had this idea of just pure aggression and having hypermasculine identities, with everybody trying to lack this sense of sensitivity. I found sensitivity in my life. I actually did calm down. I actually did find out that I reserved myself more. I found out that I was really depressed, and I had somebody, a part of the trans community, come out in life, talk to me about their vulnerabilities, their interests, and what it is they want out of life. And I found happiness in somebody who was basically a very kind-hearted individual that actually still had dick moves when it came to her being an asshole to people and laughing about people and being inconsiderate, but the naivety of somebody still that young and wanting things and looking to other people that are older with more experience, trying to hope for that when we're all a bunch of fuckheads that have gone through such serious shit, and looking at her as a vulnerable individual, I couldn't help but try and turn into a protective figure, while it is that I was getting more lost in my own identity and realizing, holy shit, I'm fucking sensitive, and I walled off a lot of feelings that also come that isn't apparent to me when it comes to being of the cisgender. And I started realizing a lot more of these other qualities of myself that I started to identify more and more and say, oh shit, this makes sense. And a simple way that we could take the gender dysphoria and describe this is, I was going to use Jargus and start to try and do the VTube thing and make a separate VTube channel, but want to know what happened, why it is that I didn't want to do that? I didn't know what model to choose that I wanted to animate and dedicate myself to, because I wanted something that was non-binary. So our best bet was actually going with the skeleton. And I still don't want to do it, because I don't want to do a VTuber identity for the branding. So we're finishing up this album. It's a hardcore album. We're making a new genre. I'm going to call it witchcore. We're taking gent, we're taking the elements of witch house, and we're also taking the elements of deathcore, and we're mixing all of those together, as well as stuff from the hardcore aspects, like some stuff similar to Youth Forever. We're gonna combine these elements with trance, and I'm going to be releasing a full-length album that we pretty much have written out, except for 2 more songs right now. We do have, like, I do, at least when I say we, this is like all me. I hate to admit it. I always like talk like I have a team, so I'm basically all the roles in all of this. So I guess me as an organization, but like me working with other people and talking with other people in the community, that it's getting complicated, because right now, as of late, with me having a mental breakdown and going to the hospital, nobody's talking to me right now, and I'm not really social with people inside of the local community right now, and this is why I wanted to isolate myself, is because I don't know what people's perceptions of me are, especially when I'm arguing with somebody who wanted to use me and is now taking claim and property of other people's intentions. But while it is that I don't have to talk with a handful of people anymore that I can repair relationships after, I'm basically getting gatekept by somebody inside of the trans community that I don't know what their perception is of me, while it is that I don't know if they support me while I'm going through my transition. So we're going to go through this, basis, and we're going to represent ourselves, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about ethereal shit and experiences that I've been through, while we go and set this next album to mark some of the passages that I've been through and some of the doorways that I've walked through, and really a lot about the esotericism that's revolved my life when it comes to interpreting actions and things that happened, and lightly touching on these subjects while I'm still looking every day for the friend that I love and fell in love with, that I basically saw the most beautiful part of my life, that I hadn't become the person in my life that if my family had looked at, said, man, why didn't we have a son like that when that's somebody else's daughter? And it makes me get a lot of shame, and it makes me really worked up for caring about them and looking at them as more of an adult figure than anything. And I don't know how weird it is for them being 20, but not actually having any of the experiences of being a parent or spouse in their life and being that young. It probably fucking throws them back. But it does make me question in the idea of what it really means to be representative of the trans community and identity if the person who doesn't talk to me just runs hashtags every day saying that they're trans and trying to blow up social media when I'm over here going through a crisis where they said that they cared about me, they said that they were my friend, they said that they loved me, and now I have all of these different comments from everybody about how it is that this person feels about me, but they keep me around and they won't even tell me themselves. And that becomes very hurtful, and that's something I have to live with. But when we talk about the 10-year thing, I've worked for all of this and I've dedicated my life for all of this, wanting to make a full-length album and wanting to come around to making metal and finally getting around to being a solo artist, that I would think about this, that I would give all of it up, all of this shit up, if I could be happy and be with that person that I love. And that's one thing that really hurts about this, is because no matter how far I work on this project now, I'll always have this project. I'll always have this stuff to come back to. But I would put it all away right now. I would literally hang up anything that I have to do if I could just pick up the call from that person that I love and care about. And that is one thing that fucking destroys the hell out of me, of not being able to have them want to talk to me, because when I see them live their life and what they do with their life, they're actually happy and they do things that make them happy because they feel, and they've gone to choose to go through the hormone therapy to be a happier person and be happy alone doing what they're doing with the goals and the things that they've set up in life. That it doesn't matter how much it is that they sit there alone working on what they're doing something that they love, and they have communities of people that embrace them for that. And while it is that I think about this, no matter how much it is that I remember them and what they talk about, they've had a shit ton of people support them through their transition in life. I just have people listening to me, and I have people telling me that, you know, it's all a phase, that I even got Friday fucking with me saying it's a cry for attention. I have, you know, people inside of my life telling me that, you know, it's like, oh, cool, and they're just ignoring their own life and living on, having better personal relationships with other people. I have other people reminding me that it's not a good idea, you know, that, you know, it's this or that. But in the reality of this, I don't have to take hormone therapy to be a part of the trans umbrella. But what I hate the most out about all of this is, no matter what I choose with this, like, everybody gets like their lore on how it is that they get there. And while it is that that's what we're doing with Jargus now, is to be representative inside of the community of identities that I've rejected my entire life by building an entire support system to reject that, I'm accepting now that I've just been trying to run away from something that I haven't been accepting inside of my life for a long time, that I've wanted to be, which was something to actually set as a goal to better myself and further achieve goals that I could create. But it comes in the face of knowing how it is that I imagine that happiness and what I would have wanted. I don't actually end up fully happy in the end for this one, even if I transition, because I'm going to, and that's what Jargus is going to be, and that's what Jargus is. And that's how this has been, to where I was afraid of this for years. I was in tears about this. I never wanted this. And I even used a lot to try and repress this. And I started just fucking crying every day because I didn't want to deal with it. So, you know, they say, like, even Franz Zilla said something, Chris Franzak said something that, you know, I think it's a quote from somebody else. It's, you know, suicide doesn't make everything go away. It takes away the chance for anything to get better. Well, everything can get better. I have spent probably about 7 years of my life almost 7 years of my life having not felt these feelings that I've had for somebody. And the last time this happened, I was considerate of somebody having a family, having children, having entire relationships with people, and having a life, and what actions they were taking and what things they were doing to put that at risk, and not wanting to interfere with it, and not wanting to know their name. But for this time, it's somebody who's opened my eyes for things that I've rejected inside of my entire life, and the principles of that, and wanting to be a part of their life, and having been a part of their life, and having them talk to me and get close to me and learn from me and me learn from them. And now that while it is that I'm still around, they won't talk with me because I don't know if it's that they're that afraid to get close to me because they don't want to lose somebody, and it doesn't bother them because I still see them smile and be happy. But the worst part about this is knowing that I'm not happy, and I haven't been able to feel the same way that I felt around them, because I know that they're just waiting for me to get over it, but it basically killed off a large portion of feeling inside of me again, that I don't know if I'll feel happy again for a few more years, which it took, like I said, it took about 7 years to feel like this again. 7 fucking years. So, I'm just hoping that they talk with me and my feelings come back with them, and that everything settles out with my relationship with that person, and that they can show me the support that I feel like I deserve, that I showed them when it comes to the things that they were going through and being a part of them. But it's the same way that if I don't, as a perceived male, stay on that high horse and, always be the big man that everybody else looks up to and that's always in control and always there in the situation, and everybody looks in and finds out that I'm really just brittle, broken, and there's a problem and it's hyper attached, and that I care about things and there's too much vulnerability, people just don't want to speak to you anymore. And it doesn't matter even if you're a girl, because apparently that happens anyways, because the lack of independency with everybody else following their emotions doesn't really help you in life if you're really catering to everybody else's interests, but you can't figure out, while it is that you're finally living in those, to always maintain them for everybody else that's trying to compete with you for it. So it gets complicated. It does get complicated to keep friends. But it's alright. We got one more day for Call of Duty. So I'm gonna run Call of Duty. And we're just gonna listen to some music today. And we're gonna go and shoot shit. Plus I think Friday was supposed to be on, but I don't think it got on. So let's check that real quick. Billboards, what about sound? Disney's on. Friday's on. Double check what it says. Got 23 out. Yeah, Friday's probably not getting on tonight. Well, we can have Turbo. Get Turbo. Have him say racist comments, and me not being able to keep any of the footage because he keeps dropping N-bombs. We can get Chrism if he picks up. OP Killam's on, so OP's around. We got a bunch of randoms that we could fill a party with, but I'm not ready to bro down right now. The idea was to, but that's not really what I want to do. if we're talking about how I want to do something right now, if anything, I'd walk away and I'd give somebody a call that I feel like I'm not even allowed to call right now because it doesn't matter. They just don't pick up the phone. And I don't spam call somebody. I text them. I fill them in on what it is that I'm doing with life. I'm not a dumbass. I'm not like all the other weirdos just trying to say, hey, what's up? Hey. I literally just send text messages about everything that's going through my head and my perceptions. And it's on repeat. I never get past it. I'm stuck in a loop. And now that I've run out of anything to say, because I've basically had to repeat the same things over and over and over again, I've already mentioned to them to where I still look forward to the day they speak to me and tell me what the fuck happened. But the bigger problem about this is I don't know if they ever will, because I don't even know if I'm going to be around. I'm looking at this album and I'm looking at finishing all this stuff up, but what sucks is I would really like to talk with somebody who's in this situation. While it is that I've been in the quarrels of dealing with criminals and people just fucking other people over, saying that they'll make promises that they can't fulfill and do shit, well, deep down that I'm just kind of stuck, not feeling anything again, living life, saying that I feel feelings, but a lot of it just comes down to sadness. I start to ache, it starts to hurt. I think the pain comes in. It starts to feel like you have a fucking knife in your chest or your back. Or then I think about like some ideas of the images and the thoughts of tragedy, because most of what I'm seeing and interpreting of life doesn't really show positivity. I don't see me going and living life, doing any of this shit, and being happy, because deep down it's a way to ignore the fact that I'm trying to regain some kind of feeling and happiness again, distracted from the fact of knowing something that's purely there that the world is literally rejecting from me, that I know I can absolutely have in my life, which is a fucking friend, talk with them, and be happy. And it just seems cruel because every day I'm reminded, too, that I'm basically living with that rejection. I already had that. I had that with all the other relationships that I had in my life that brought me there to my loneliness and not knowing what I needed to be. But hitting that point where it is that you admit to people in front of their face that you really just want to change and change to become that person that the people you care about and you love you back. That you actually get to see that person that makes you happy smiling at you and looking at you, knowing that that's what you told them, and they know that you're talking about them, and you're just not mentioning their name while it is that you look at them and stare at them. And it really does make you fall in love, and makes you feel special when you get to see them happy, that they actually care about you and that you have feeling, but that you can't talk to them and you don't understand and you don't know what's going on. And now you spend the rest of your life lost, kind of just wandering ether. So that's the entire principle of this next album. And, you know, I'm getting through this because it's very painful. I actually kind of want to cry right now because it feels like I'm building up some sadness there, and I feel it in my chest. But I could literally be sitting here, because I am sitting here in the lobby, play Call of Duty, to be able to play games, to just kind of decompress and focus on trying to be the best player that I can be, while it is that I just remind myself that I'm shit. Going and grinding everything out over and over and over again repeatedly, like I've done for my life, trying to get there to be able to build content and the value of a character that I wanted to, and portray myself as and live as, to embody happiness and success in life. But in reality, I'd rather just be with that person that I love and care about. But for right now, inside of my life, even though I have the ability, they have the ability to be present in my life, that they decide to have me not present in their life. Even though they still look at me and they still check my social media, they still look at the brand, they still engage with me as a solo artist by looking at my stuff and viewing me and paying attention. But it's disturbing how much it is that when they have made their comments in the past and the way that they look at me, and how they basically say that they look at me as disgusting. It's not anything light of weird, because I'm actually, compared to everybody else, I'm one of the cleanest motherfuckers there is. I'm the person who showers and shaves twice a day, that cleans their house every day, while it is that people just kind of live in this rut of, like, not cleaning shit, dirty dishes, and fucking empty cups to hang around places that smell like dingy bathrooms to go and play instruments. And you know, that's also one thing that really helped push me a little bit. When you have a trans girl that tells you that you're ugly and you just want that person that you love inside of life to tell you that you're pretty. Because they're the most beautiful person in your life. They're the one that actually makes you have feeling again. This is why I pretty much ask every day to be able to spend my life with that person that I love. Where I knew that it dwindled off and I would have been stressed out, especially with the way I would have interfered with somebody else's life. This is somebody in my life who's basically described they have no care for making something serious about their life and extravagant, that they didn't want to do the branding, the trademarks, didn't want to get into this stupid shit about overstressing their music and the things that they have into it, and the shit that people were doing to try and, you know, collect stuff for taxes and gas sheets and holding on to receipts. That they didn't want to do any of that. But I don't know how that works after it is they start talking to a motherfucker who's literally just changing the person that it is that I care about into a neurotic motherfucker like them. And I don't know if they're the same person that I met that still said that they cared about me. But I want to say that they are. I just don't know what that means if they never speak to me. I want them to speak to me. I want them to talk to me. I want them to communicate with me, and I want them to tell me everything that happened. I want them to tell me what the intention was of somebody else, and I want them to tell me that they're here to support me, because I've always been there to support them. And there is one bonus about this. When I get to talk about this again, if I finally feel like I'm going to end it after it is that we finish up this album and I actually come out trans, I'm going to gaslight the shit out of that person, having explained this entire story from my perspective from start to finish and all the experiences, and know the dates and timestamps of that. And that while it is that they can be scared as shit, I can basically not worry about any slander when it comes down to the fact that it is I'm ending my life. If it turns out that I finally can't fucking take it anymore because I didn't want to come out. And even though that I did, doesn't matter about all the support, doesn't matter about any of that. It matters about how much it is that you really can't get the communication with people that really don't give a fuck about you, or that give a fuck about you but just too fucking scared to tell you, and they won't speak up to save a fucking life. We're gonna start the stream.